Amendment 4. Search, Seizure, and Warrants. The Fourth Amendment is another one of those amendments that gets people's blood boiling faster than you can snap a finger. Our framers knew this was important based on English abuse and atrocities. It states, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or thing to be seized. What does it mean to be secure in your person? If we look at the types of ways this sentence has been interpreted by the Supreme Court, you will begin to understand why your privacy is so important. In the case of Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion, the court agreed that what happens inside a woman's body is her right and her right alone. Your urine, have you ever thought about where you peed? Once you void yourself, is that someone else's to do as they see fit? Can a school search your pee for drugs? How about your blood? In Pennsylvania, if you're suspected of drunk driving and the police ask you to submit to a blood test and you refused, you automatically lose your license for a period of 1 year. But what if you don't like needles? What if you fear blood? I once had a student in class that when I said blood, she instantly fainted. Then there is your saliva and hair, which contains your DNA. If you spit out a piece of gum on the street, can the cops use that to get your DNA? And I also put other because DNA would be scientific and considered other. Meet James Acton. James was a 13-year-old who wanted to play on his 8th grade football team, but the school district demanded that he, like all other student athletes, submit to a drug test. James refused, citing that his urine is his and it is not the object of any school or person to test said urine. This case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, where the court ruled, 1. Peeing in a cup or in front of someone is not a violation of expected privacy, especially in a school setting where urinals are side by side. 2. The action is for the greater good of society, and therefore outweighs the needs of the individual, especially when damaging drugs are involved. And 3. Sports are voluntary. So when we talk about being secure in your home, what does that look like? To me, it means not having prying eyes, that what takes place is for me to know unless I invite you into my house. But what about your garage? My garage is in the rear of my house, but faces the side of my neighbor's deck. If I were doing something nefarious, such as stripping down a stolen car, while my garage door was open, would I still have a right to privacy in my own house? And what about a treehouse? It's in the open, but on private property. Could it be searched without a warrant? Then the framers mentioned being secure in your papers, and to Jefferson, Hale, and Arnold, it would have been necessary to keep from unwanted eyes. But today, when we talk about papers, we are talking about physical papers, such as contracts, mail, and even diaries, all the way to our iMessages and our phones. Should phones be searched? Can phones be searched? There was a case in which a couple shot up a workplace in California, and both suspects were killed. The police wanted to search the man's phone, but couldn't gain access because they didn't have his eyes or fingerprint, and Apple refused to jailbreak this device. Yet the information on the phone may have saved more people. Was Apple in the wrong? Your effects. What is an effect? An effect can be a purse, cigarette, lipstick, cell phone, or even your trash. Do you have the right to those things against unreasonable searches? So let me tell you about a purse search that I did while teaching this amendment. Every year when I taught this amendment, I would take the first female that came into the classroom with a purse and send her to the office. I would then plant a pack of cigarettes on her. When she came back, I would start my lesson. I would say I smelled smoke and asked to search the purses of the girls at that table. The girl unknowingly gave me her planted purse. I would save that purse for last, but unbeknownst to me, the other girl had cigarettes in her purse. In a nice Camel cigarette tin, which I viewed from within her purse, I didn't take it out of her purse, I opened the tin, and to my surprise, but not the class, but my surprise, because the class already knew what I found, I didn't, the girl had heroin and cocaine concealed in this tin. And of course, this was before there were phones in the classroom, so I had to walk her down to the office, clutching her purse. So was this an illegal search? The answer was no. The court ruled that in a school setting that the teacher has what's known as in loco parentis, which means in place of the parent. The court went on to say that the school had an obligation to distinguish right and wrong behavior, even in an example that I used yearly. Needless to say, I've never done anything like that since. Now, as you have listened, I hope that you are starting to understand how privacy works. Are the lives that we really lead really private? I go to Shoplift and Save, I present my card at checkout, and boom, they know what I buy. Quick story about Target. If you shop at Target and have a Target card, then they will send you coupons based on your purchases. A man from Minneapolis, Minnesota, became outraged when Target started sending coupons to his high school daughter for maternity clothes and baby goods. He went right to the local Target store and became irate with the store manager for sending things like that to his daughter. Long story short, the girl was pregnant. And after her father's outburst, the father went back and apologized to the manager. But what if the girl didn't want her father to know? Is that a violation of her privacy? So think about that when you do computer searches as well. Do you start seeing ads for those searches anywhere else, such as your phone? Think about that. That takes us to cause. There is probable cause, which means that something likely happened. Then there is reasonable suspicion, which means that there's a chance that something occurred. Probable. The best way to look at this is if two people are in a room, one sets a bag of money down, the person turns their back, then turns around, the money is gone, then the other person probably took it. For reasonable, I'm walking around teaching. I get to one of the quadrants that are set up in my classroom. I get to a table in which I smell marijuana lingering on one of the students. But did I see them smoke or vape the marijuana? No. But is there a likely chance that that student either did it or was near someone who did? As a teacher, I can act on that type of suspicion. But the police, well, if they didn't see it, they would need a warrant. Unless they see some type of nefarious activity in which they believe a crime is going to stop or occur, and that's known as a Terry stop, which we'll learn more about in the next few weeks. A warrant is an official document that is issued by a judge and judge only. It is to list the time, place, and location of probable cause that the police are actively searching for. So let's say the police have a warrant for little Bobby's house for a stolen car. Can they go into his bedroom and search for that car? No. Can they go into the garage? Yes. But what if they were searching for drugs? Well, the short answer is the police can search just about anywhere that drugs can be hidden. What about on a person, you ask? Anywhere drugs can be hidden. When we discuss court cases after Christmas, we will learn that strip searches are still legal in school. Speaking of school, as I mentioned before with the Acton case, it is one of the few places where your lockers, your desk, your belongings can be freely searched if there is reasonable suspicion. But what happens when you get pulled over? What happens if I'm your dad and I stop and get a case of beer and I put it in the trunk? You borrow the car before I can take it out and you get pulled over. Whose beer is it? Well, you're in possession, so it's your beer. What happens when a police officer asks to search your car? What should your answer always be? Well, it should always be no. Why? Well, what if I had narcotics in the glove compartment in an envelope? Or let's say that you share the car with a sibling who does marijuana. Who gets in trouble then? Why, you do. That's why. If you don't know what's in that car, if you can't be 100% certain of what's in that car, you shouldn't allow it to be searched. Let the police get a warrant because you could ultimately get yourself in trouble. And believe it or not, do you think your sibling's going to take blame for something that they did that you got in trouble for? Think about that. There is so much more we could discuss, but you sort of get the idea of what the Fourth Amendment is. I'll leave you with this last piece. If you put your trash outside, either on the side of your house or at the curb, is that garbage fair game to the police, or anybody for that matter, to be able to be searched? Well, the Supreme Court ruled that trash is fair game, by the public or the police. Otherwise, you wouldn't have discarded it to begin with. Have a great day, Mount Pleasant.